Sixth grade, welcome to math test number 12. On the top, you got fraction, decimal, percent equivalents. Remember, to go from fraction to decimal, we divide top numbers in the box, bottom numbers outside the box. A couple of them are repeating, so make sure you put a line over it. To go from decimal then to percent, you slide that decimal right twice, and you have your percent sign. Okay, problem solving on the bottom says this. Marcia started a 1,024 meter race. She ran half the distance to the finish line and then handed the baton, that's what you hand off in a track race, to Greg. Greg ran half the remaining distance and handed the baton off to Alice, who ran half of the remaining distance. How far from the finish line did Alice stop? So guys, divide by 2. You got an answer. Take Greg, divide by 2. You got the answer. Take that number, divide it by 2, and that's how far Alice was when she stopped. Okay, that's answer number 1 you need. Now it says, the team continues this pattern. How many more runners will they need in order to cross the finish line? Okay, guys, so you divided by 2 3 times. Now you're going to keep dividing by 2 until you get an answer of 0. And after you divide by 2 a number of times, guys, you're going to count how many times it takes to get to 0. And I'll give you this helpful hint. After you do it a while, guys, I don't know if I should say it's a trick question, but that might help your thinking to think it's a trick question. Because you'll realize something as you keep dividing by 2. And so then your answer, you just write down, hopefully you'll figure out how it's a trick question. And that's really what they want you writing down. So what I want you to think of is, how many times can I cut a number in half and then all of a sudden some number is going to equal 0? And hopefully you'll realize the trick question for there. Okay. Backside. You got extra credit, guys. Take your time. Do extra credit. I can't stress that enough. Okay. I'll help out extra credit this time. Extra credit for extra credit up here. You write down worth 1.5. So usually when you get it, I give you 1 extra credit point. But if you get it right, I'll give you 1.5. So if you do all 3 right, 3 times 1.5 is actually 4.5 pieces of extra credit. Totally can change the math grade as we get going on that thing. So number 1, to get extra credit, you have to write worth 1.5. Then do those, get the extra credit. All right, here comes the actual math test. 1, a half a gallon of milk costs $1.24. How much does it cost for a pint? Now guys, you got to figure out how many pints are in a half gallon. I would probably divide by 4. Let me think about that. 2 pints in a quart, 2 quarts, and yep, I divide by 4. Number 2, a cookie recipe called for oatmeal to raisins, a ratio of 3 to 1. 4 cups of oatmeal were called for. How many cups of raisins were needed? Draw a ratio box, guys. And then you'll be able to cross multiply. So if you're asking me, I'm taking 1 times 4 and then dividing by 3 to get my answer. Number 3, Elle there ran a 400-meter race 3 times. Her fastest was that, her slowest was that. If Elle's average was 54, what was her third time? We did one of these problems not too long ago. 54 times 3 gives you your total time. Add these other 2 together, and then subtract this answer when you added from this answer when you multiplied by 3, and you'll get your missing third time. Number 4, it says the equation is y equals 2x plus 1. Copy and complete this table by finding the values of y when given x. So they said stick 0 in here. So I do 0 times 2, get an answer, and add 1 to it. Write it there. 1 times 2 plus 1. Write it there. 2 times 2 plus 1. Write it there. 3 times 2 plus 1. Write it there. Cruising along, number 5, you want the total cost. So step 1, I would switch this to a decimal, 0.06 times 1250. Round to the nearest penny. Take that answer and add it back to the 1250. A says, what percent of the print area was filled with advertisements? Only 4/10 of the print area actually carried news. So you got to do the opposite of 4/10 and then switch it to a percent. B, what is the ratio of news to advertisement? Now guys, that's your numerators. They gave you the first numerator, 4. You figured out the second numerator when you switched it to the opposite of 4/10. So you put those two over each other, 4 over the one you just figured out, and reduce it down. Scientific notation for number 7. Remember, the decimal needs to get behind this 2. So you count how many times did you slide it from here to get behind the 2. So then it's 2.05 times 10 to the number of slides. That's a -1. Now you're writing this one, guys, it's also negative. So you're sliding to the left 5 times. Boom. Puts it 1 time, puts it in front. Better add some more zeros. Number 8, you're drawing a quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides. This was investigation 6, guys. Feel free to open your math book to investigation 6 and find that little chart that says, what do we call something that has 1 pair of parallel sides? You have to do 2 things, guys. Number 1, you have to draw it, and number 2, you have to give the name for it. Multiplier to convert yards to feet, I would multiply by 3. We did this problem last week, I think, in math class. So times 3 to convert it over. Work in the chart, decimal to percent. I would go left 2 times. Then I would read that number correctly and reduce it. Or the other thing you do is, guys, remember percent means over 100 and reduce it down. Fraction of decimal, top number in the box, bottom number outside the box. And then write twice. The other thing you could do, guys, is you could convert this to 100. 25 times what gives me 100. That what is then 1 times that number. That would give you a percent. Left twice would give you the decimal. Your job is to figure out the perimeter and the area of these shapes, guys. To figure out the perimeter, you got to figure out what this number is and this number is. You're missing pieces. So this one goes side to side, subtract your sides to get that one. This one goes vertical, subtract your 2 vertical numbers to get that one. Add them all up for perimeter. To find the area, guys, I would chop it here. Find the 2 numbers you multiply to get the area of the big thing. Find the 2 numbers you multiply to get the area of the small thing. Put them together. Number 13 at the bottom, you got 2 choices. I think the easier, I'll tell you the first choice. I think it's the harder one, cross multiply. 4 times 27 divided by 18. I think the easier thing to do, guys, is divide this one. Reduce it. When you reduce it down, you'll be able to see the reduced number goes right into 27, and then you take that times your reduced one. Cruising across the top, missing an addition, subtract. 15, order of operations. If I was a 6th grader, I would probably, hope Mr. Bauer's pen works, and I would probably multiply, write my answer down, divide, write my answer down, start over, add 10 to my answer, subtract my answer. Okay, 6, we're cruising along with number 16. Once again, you have order of operations. You have to do 10 to the 4th power. That's going to give you a big number. You're going to have to do the square root of 121. Write it down. You're going to have to add to that 3 to the 3rd power. Another big number. Well, I shouldn't say big number. Not that big. Plus 4 to the 0. Remember, any number to the 0 power, what it is. Write it down. Then what I would do, guys, is I would add my 3 numbers together here. And then, I would work left to right. So you have the big number minus that, then add that, and you have your answer. 17, absolute value. Remember what absolute value does to a negative number. 18, you must find common denominators. When you find common denominators, then subtract. You're going to have to borrow to do the subtraction. Then you get your answer. You're going to have to find new common denominators when you work with that one. Make sure you show your work to do those things. 19, guys, you got to make them improper. Make it improper, stay, change, flip. You get your answer. Make it improper, and then stay, change, flip your answer to that one. Last but not least, number 20, you're multiplying 5 times 4.3. Then you have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal places, guys. So it's going to be a very small decimal number because of those 6 decimal places. Make sure you count those things up. Awesome. You're ready to rock and roll with a math test. If you want extra credit for your math test, on the top of your on top of here you write, I did the extra credit on the back of my power up. Now for that to kick in and actually work, guys, you better have done the extra credit on the back of your power up. Have a great one.